Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. Well, that was a fascinating conversation with Shelley True about her experience as an amateur in a comedy night, stand-up comedy night. And now I thought it'd be interesting to check in with Todd Van Allen, who is the pro that had to train Shelley and get her up to speed and then perform as well. Todd, welcome to the show, sir.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So how long have you been a stand-up comedian?
Oh, too long to answer that question, honestly. I kind of had two moments of comedy. I started originally kind of back in like 88, 89. I then took a big break and then came back in 2002 and have been going ever since. So.
And where do you typically perform? Yuck Yucks or what kind of place?
Well, I just moved to Ottawa, so I was doing most of my stand-up in Toronto from 2002 to just before the pandemic. So now we're in Ottawa, so there's Absolute Comedy there, there's Yuck Yucks, there's a few other rooms to go out, but I'm currently right now in Montreal working at the Comedy Nest, which is fantastic. Really, really great room.
What's it like training a amateur to do stand-up comedy for the first time in their lives?
Well, thankfully, I have got a little bit of experience in this because I was and still am. I'm an instructor of stand-up at Second City. So when I was in Toronto, I was working at the actual training facility there, the training center for Second City. And during the pandemic, they moved all their classes to online. And did virtual classes. So I was able to keep instructing students from stand-up level 1, 2, and 3, getting them used to writing premises and then turning those premises into jokes and then performing those jokes in front of people and teaching them how to edit and that sort of thing. So I think this gave me a bit of a leg up with Shelley because I knew sort of like what the process was. Like, okay, let's get the ideas first and then we'll work on that. And she, I don't know if she told you this, but she definitely remembers this moment where she came up with the premises for the jokes, and I think she thought they were finished at that point. And she brought them, and we went over them. I went, "These premises are fantastic. Now all we have to do is add the jokes," and she was gutted. So we just went in and we added the jokes. So and it's a gradual process. It's like we basically took Shelley and every one of the other pros took their Joes through this process of, okay, here's the idea. What do you think is funny about it? And then, okay, so let's try and pinpoint what that is and then really make it funny. Find the right words, find the right settings, and then getting them to practice it as much as they can.
Fascinating. Can you give me an example of what would be the difference between a premise and then elevating it into a joke?
So the premise of a joke is basically it's the thing you want to talk about, and the way that we sort of twist it is, or not twist it, we kind of extend it, is we add an emotion to what the thing is that you want to talk about, okay? Because then once you have the emotion associated with that thing you want to talk about, that helps drive the writing of the joke. So I love Tim Hortons. I hate the subway system. I'm terrified of the dog that's barking in the hallway of my hotel room right now, like all these things. So once you have sort of that idea, you're like, okay, what are the things that make you feel that way about the thing you want to talk about? And then you scribble those things down, and then you basically take a look at every one of those items that you wrote down. Those are basically going to be the setups of your joke. And then you just look at how, that one piece that that one sentence that describes the emotion of the thing you want to talk about. Then you go, okay, how do I make this funny? And you just find different ways. And there's different types of things that you can do. There's little tricks of the trade that you can do in comedy, which is like exaggeration, your rules of three, there's, absolute abject silliness of something, alliteration, all the things you learned in grade 9 English are kind of writing tools of the trade for joke writing. And, if you're lucky, the gods will tap you on the head one day and go, here's an idea for you. And you just go, thank you. And sometimes those jokes are like right there and ready to go. Other times you really have to work at it and figure out what's the right wording choice I need for this. What are the exact minimum number of words I need for the setup to get to the punchline. All these things are the painful process of stand-up comedy. The best part of it is when you get to perform these things and see how they do. The worst part is writing them and worrying that they're not going to be great. So it's a huge process. And for us to take the Joes and give them 6 weeks, effectively, that's how much time we had to work with them, figure out what the premises were they want to talk about, and then really help them sculpt their jokes, help them find the funny, because every one of the Joes, every one of the pros are friends of mine, and I knew that they would have that ability. And they all, what I also loved is everyone had a different style of comedy. So every single one of the pros was going to have a very different kind of feel on how they would direct their Joes. One of the things that they did for the Joes, and I thought this was really good, is they asked who are their favorite comedians. And I think that's very important, because that gives you a sense of the style. Because one of the things I always do and I told Shelley this as well, whenever I give the students homework for writing or coming up with premises or anything like that, one of the things I always tell comics starting out is watch as much stand-up as you can. Right? If you're at a show, don't leave early, stay to the end, watch every comic. Fire up Netflix and YouTube and find comedy specials and start watching them. And the reason is that, first of all, it gives you a sense of comedic rhythm, gives you a sense of the different comedic rhythms of different comics. And it also kind of helps provide a bit of a divining rod to the type of comedy that you might want to do. So if you find yourself gravitating towards like one-liner comics, you're probably going to be a one-liner comic. If you're more of a storyteller, probably going to be a storyteller comic. So it's like it's kind of a divining rod for figuring out what it is that you want to do and how you want to do it. So when they listed their comics, their favorite comics, was very easy to go, okay, this is the style more of Rick Curry, so let's pair off with that. This is more of a Pierre Bro style or a Brendan McKeegan style, so we'll put them in there. So I was really happy to get Shelley, because she and I had like a lot of the same comedic likes and dislikes, and her premises were just fantastic. Like she really kind of grabbed the bull by the horns and went, this is me, this is what I'm going to talk about, these are the things that are very close to me, and I like doing that as well. I like being, kind of putting myself out there and being personal, and she was doing the exact same thing. So I was really happy to be working with her.
So the two of you are storytellers, not one-liners?
I am definitely not a one-liner comic. I might have one lines as tags, but like Shelley is definitely a storyteller. Like she says, she will come up with a premise and go, this is the story around this. Her tattoo joke is a testament to that. It's just a fantastic story of how she got roped into getting a tattoo and was so proud of it and got deflated by her boyfriend at the time. So fantastic tale. Really
so I'm probably a fan of one-liners or close to them. So my favorite is not necessarily a comic, but I don't know what you call it, a style or a genre or whatever. It's Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live, and it's I guess because I do a political talk show and commentary. I'm amazed at how they can take current events and in 30 seconds or a minute make a joke out of it over and over and over again. How do you do that?
So it's a totally different school of writing, is that, and in fact that I've got a book of it on my desk at home of like how to write for late night television shows, and it talks about making the desk pieces, making the sketches that you want to do for things. But one of the things that it devotes time to, the Weekend Update is basically the monologue of every late night show, right? Because they always come together and they go, okay, this is what's in the news today. If you watch like Stephen Colbert, if you watch Jimmy Fallon, and even the past greats of Letterman and Carson, they were all topical. This is what's in the headlines. Bing, 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 bing. The last season of Mrs. Maisel actually tackles this very subject, right? And it details it pretty easily. So what will happen is for late night talk shows, and to a similar extent, the Weekend Updates, they're basically coming in with writers, and Michael Che and Colin Jost, they will be sort of like the head writers of this, but there will be a team of writers that are also kind of feeding this process. And effectively what happens is everyone comes in with the newspapers every day, they throw them onto the table in the writer's room and go, Okay, get at it. And so everyone takes a newspaper and you start finding jokes, and it's like, oh, you find basically what you do is find the headline and make that the setup of the joke, and then figure out what the punchline is going to be to make that funny. And so, and you can go further into the article and go, oh, here's another detail I think is fine. Basically, all you're doing when you're scrolling through these news articles and headlines is you're looking for something that could be used as a setup for a joke. Go, oh, okay, I think I know something I could use with this, and then using it. And then they will submit to the head writer. So in the cases of the talk show, they take it directly to either the segment producer or the not the segment producer, the comic themselves, and they look at it and they go, okay, I like that one, not that one, not that one, that one, and then that becomes they put them on cue cards, and that's the
where they go.
That's the monologue. So for Weekend Update, similar process. They'd be cataloging over the course of the week what the newspaper articles are that they want to talk about, and sculpt those jokes and make them perfect. So they also have, like, if you look at Seth Meyers and John Oliver for their shows, when Seth Meyers does his opening monologue, they will have graphics kind of up here on his screen. Same thing with John Oliver when he's doing like the larger pieces. One additional thing that they need to do is go, and they do this with Weekend Update, they have to talk to their graphics team and go, okay, for this news article, I need Ron DeSantis in a cowboy hat eating pudding off his fingers. And so, like it's so then it's up to the graphic team to go, okay, we got to do this. So thankfully with SNL and the John Oliver show, they have a week to get this ready because it's only a weekly show. With Seth Meyers, they have to do that daily and turn that around. Like, this is the joke I want. This is the clip I need. These are the graphics I need. So it is insane seeing that process go
ready.
through. But yeah. What's
the rule of three?
Oh, the rule of three is you can see it everywhere in comedy, where you start. You know what? I'll just draw it out here. Is this going to be a video podcast?
It's radio and video.
Okay. All right. So you know what? I've just boosted your Patreon. So now people will have to go to video. So the way that your mind works is it's always looking to find a straight line.
Okay.
Okay. So you start with an anchor point for a rule of three, which is just the initial setup. And then the next thing extends the point and provides the mind the direction of where they want to go. Right. So when you say the third thing in the rule of three, the mind thinks it's, okay, I've set this up. This is the step. The next logical step would be here. And what you're doing with the rule of three is you're shifting that direction. You're making a misdirection, and that misdirection is where the joke is. So it goes A, B, C.
So you surprise someone with the ending rather than the ending they're expecting.
Correct. The other thing you can do is the next step, instead of being a misdirection, is a huge exaggeration, where you take that third thing and you go, oh, I think I'm going to end up here, and you blow way past it and exaggerate sort of the last step.
What's alliteration?
Alliteration is just like exactly what you mean. Big blue bouncy balls. It's just like, people, for whatever reason, it has worked in English all the time. It's just alliteration. Cacophony of cauliflower, like whatever. Like, as soon as you hear sort of those things, even rhyming, everything you learned in grade 9 English are all great little tools of the trade for comedy. So school is actually, stay in school, kids. That's what we're saying.
Stay in school and take English. Don't just focus on STEM. Todd, would you do this again? Would you be a pro again?
Oh, no question. It was such a great time. Because one of the things I love is, as an instructor at Second City, everyone comes in with different premises, and as the thing that I love is Second City brings in a large, diverse crowd of students that want to learn comedy. I'm thankful it's not filled with middle-aged white men, because I got that. I understand it, right? Those are the premises that I write. So when I have a class full of BIPOC students, when I have members of the LGBTQ community, when I have middle-aged women, when I have people with disabilities, every one of them has a different story, and me helping to write their jokes in their voice allows me to learn more about them. And because you get to hear their point of views, and it helps me grow as not just a comic, but as a person, to understand someone else's ideas about themselves and how the world is for them, and learning their particular truths. And I absolutely adore that. It's one of the things that I find that is really invigorating for me whenever I walk into a class and I see just a diverse. When I see more women coming in, that is perfect, because comedy has been like a male, and still is a male-dominated means of art. And the more women we see, the more people of color, the more LGBTQ comics that we see out there, it's more reflective of the society as a whole. And I think that makes comedy better. And I think we're able to learn from everyone in doing so. And it shouldn't just be guys like me going, what's the deal with airline food?
If someone tonight listening gets an opportunity to be an amateur, would you recommend it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's many different ways. I know there's a hard line of older comics that go, oh, you just start in comedy, which is fair. And if you can, do it. And basically get together your 5 minutes of material, find an open mic, and start performing. That is definitely one way to do it. If you're a little more timid about it, or don't know where to start, or really don't know what the nuts and bolts of it are, there's all kinds of courses out there. There's all kinds of online courses. There's Second City, as I say. Your listeners in California can go to Flappers. I know they've got programs, but also look into different comedy clubs. I believe Absolute actually runs one here in Ottawa with Pierre Bro, one of the guys. So he was one of the pros, and he runs a comedy class. So it can help you kind of put your toe in the water and really sort of give you a sense of like how to start if you're really scared. Humber College actually has a accredited college program for comedy, and it doesn't just cover stand-up, it covers everything in comedy. So there will be units on script writing, sketch writing, improv, clown, yes, clown, all of it. So it's really I'm happy to see that my initial, I was admittedly one of the first people that went, oh yeah, you just do it. We don't need schools. We don't need classes. But the more I thought of it, it's like, no, maybe we do. Maybe we do need to provide a support net for people who honestly don't know where to start, or, give their parents like, hey, I'm going to college. What for? Hey, I'm going to college.
I'm going to college for comedy. Todd Van Land, I really appreciate you coming on and chatting about this Pros and Joes comedy festival. Thank you very much. If people want to check you out, are you performing places that we should check out? Have you got some routines online? Yes. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, you can find me at Hey It's TVA across most of all platforms. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Instagram has an underscore after the Hey It's TVA. It's a long story. If you go to heyitstva.com/calendar, that's got all of my upcoming dates. I've got a couple of dates coming up in May, and we're closing off this month. Like I say, I'm in Montreal, so depending upon when this comes out, you can come see me at the Comedy Nest. If not, go to heyitstva.com/calendar.
Todd Van Allen, thanks so much for sharing us. That's our show for tonight, everybody. I'm on every Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock on 960 AM. You can stream me online, even from Montreal, at www.saga960am.ca. And I'm not a comic, but I love Who's On First, and I love Rodney Dangerfield. Constantly insulting himself and other people, but comedy just makes the life a better place.